So if you guys had attended our last few lunch and learns, then you had learned that our team a few months ago went to HubSpot's inbound marketing conference in Boston, and we learned a whole lot, and that's kind of what inspired these lunch and learn sessions. And so a lot of what we learned and a lot of what I do was in regards to social media. And so this is kind of stuff that I've learned through research and kind of been seeing in the space. And then a lot of it was kind of reiterated at Inbound. Give me one sec. Oh, here we go. My mouse was not working. Alrighty. So if you haven't attended any of the previous sessions, my name is Jessica, and I am the social media and content strategist here at Lasasso. And so I will be walking us through the presentation today. I'm going to minimize my screen. So today we'll be talking about optimizing your social media for SEO. I know everyone kind of has, their own ideas and understanding of SEO as it relates to, traditional SEO and optimizing your website for Google and things like that. But when it comes to social media, there's a big opportunity, and it's actually fairly search friendly. If you were in the social first content lunch and learn, then you might have heard me say that. But today we'll be talking about the connection between social media and SEO, why it's important, how we can boost discoverability, and then I will also run through a few examples, and hopefully we'll leave time for questions as well. I do want to just mention briefly that you'll hear me throughout the rest of this presentation talk about reach and discoverability, and I'm kind of using them synonymously. So when I talk about reach or discoverability, just know that I'm talking about the same thing, essentially. All right. And so the link between social media and SEO. So if you guys have, researched this in the past, you might have heard or learned that Google doesn't necessarily count social media when ranking websites, based on the backlinks. So it's true that they don't rank social sites like they would other sites. However, social does have an indirect positive impact on search ranking. And I listed the source here, but Cognitive SEO a couple years ago had analyzed 23 million social media shares on certain platforms, and they discovered that there is a link between social shares and SEO. And so while the links from social might not necessarily be, counted when getting ranked on Google, the social activity or the social engagement is a factor in ranking websites. And so that means the shares, the likes, the comments, and the posts are all vital signals that Google and other search engines use to rank your website. And so kind of an indirect link there. Not many people know about that. But when we think about social media and the metrics we track there and the performance there, the results and the metrics are far more important than just on the platforms on social media. I'll kind of walk through this in a few more slides, but it's also beneficial from a Google standpoint as well. So social media is important. Social media SEO is important for two reasons. First, it boosts social traffic. More people are using social media as a search engine, like I had mentioned in the social first content lunch and learn. Social media, especially like TikTok and Instagram, social media platforms have actually said that a lot of their users are searching on the platforms like they would Google. There's a phrase going around as well, and I've seen like a meme of this in various places that people are saying they don't Google, they TikTok. And instead of searching, Google or a search engine, they might search the Instagram Explore page, for example. So social has become a critical factor in product discovery, research, and helping people make purchase decisions. And secondly, it boosts website traffic. So again, like I mentioned a few slides back, social media profiles constantly rank up among top search results. So if you were to type in a brand name or a company name into Google, ideally, of course, if their website's optimized, maybe if they're running ads, you would see them populate on the first page of Google, but you would also see their social media page as well, maybe their Twitter or LinkedIn, whatever their top performing and most optimized channel is. And again, the most likes and comments and shares your posts get, the higher your search rankings will be. So knowing that social media SEO not only helps on the social side of things, but that it also can help on the website side of things, it's a win-win. And obviously businesses want to stand out on Google, and they also want to stand out on other search engines, and they want to stand out on social media as well. So if you think of it collectively, more brand awareness equals more searches, not only on social media, but also on Google and other search engine sites as well. So understanding that, this idea of increasing reach or increasing discoverability is not only something that's been discussed again on the traditional side of SEO, how can my website rank higher in Google? How can I get more eyes on my blog content? Things like that. But it's also, a question that people doing social media have asked for a long time. And you might have also seen headlines recently, not even recently, but it seems like it's kind of been an ongoing thing that organic reach is down, again, on the website side of things, but also on social media, namely Facebook. I briefly mentioned that in one of the previous Lunch and Learns as well. So understanding that the odds are kind of stacked against us, we really want to figure out different tactics we can do and implement to increase discoverability or reach on social media. And so I'll get into a few different hacks or tips, across each channel, kind of breaking them out one by one. But these 5 ways, these 5 tips are actually things that you can do on all social channels that would kind of yield the same result. So again, a lot of this might seem repetitive to traditional SEO tactics, and for good reason. But essentially, if you take all of the best practices that people have done to optimize their website and all of their blog pages and apply them on social media, you will also start to see some SEO benefit there as well. So the first is writing descriptive captions with keywords. Understanding that social media is very search friendly, we want to make sure that the captions and the content we're sharing includes keywords. It kind of goes without saying. I do want to mention, though, that a lot of people feel, that hashtags kind of, might check all the boxes there and handle that for them. But because social media is so search friendly, especially Instagram and the Explore page, you can actually include phrases and words, not just hashtags. So keywords within your captions itself, even sometimes standalone, hidden within the hashtags, works. And so the same way you would do keyword research for your website, you can also do on social media. Even looking at what competitors are posting about and what keywords they're using on social media would be a good way to start. And so beyond writing descriptive captions with, keywords sprinkled in, you'll want to be consistent with your posts. And again, this is kind of a best practice for social media in general. But when we think about it from an SEO perspective, consistency teaches the algorithms who you are and what you offer. And so we are constantly feeding these platform algorithms information about, our brand or our business. And by using the appropriate keywords and sharing consistently, then our content will be served to relevant users as they are searching across social media. And then adding alt text is also a best practice, for your website images and whatnot. But on the social side of things, you can actually add alt text to your images on each of the respective social platforms. And so this, of course, helps with accessibility, and it's been, a best practice for that reason alone. But it also helps for SEO purposes, and it provides context for the search engine crawlers, which help you, increase search rankings. So this is kind of a back-end trick, again, on social media. And then again, it goes without saying, you want to share during optimal posting times. And so if you're not already using a social media scheduler or an analytics tool of sorts, each of the platforms themselves, when you log in, actually gives you pretty high level information as to when your audience is on, your most interactive times and best optimal posting times and whatnot. And so, taking kind of all of those tips in mind, you'll also want to share all of your content during optimal posting times. It varies between audiences, between channels. What works for us, for example, at Lasasso might not necessarily work for your business or your brand. So I would monitor that, but then take note and write different times and days down and start posting within those times, and that could also increase reach. And then lastly, is a tale as old as time. Everyone knows that each of the platforms are prioritizing video content. It seems like all of the other content we post that's not a video just doesn't perform as well. And I would say that's because, video not only is just what people are consuming the most right now, but again, going back to SEO, it's just the top performing format. And I would say too that a good rule of thumb when it comes to video is that as soon as each of the platforms roll out a new post format or a new trend or a feature or anything, I would hop on that as soon as you can and be, what we would call an early adapter of the various tools, and then just continue to experiment and test and then track performance and optimize as you go, by doing that and kind of jumping on the trends before they become, widespread. You can increase your discoverability and your reach, because those platforms, as soon as they roll out a new function, a lot of which have been video related, those are the posts that they are showing to audiences above the static image posts or any of the traditional formats. So all of that, I know it was a lot. Each of these things can kind of be applied on any social media platform. And again, a pretty close tie between regular SEO best practices with the keywords and consistency, and then alt text as well. But combining all of this and then taking this into consideration, I will go into the next portion, which is kind of by platform, some of the things that I've learned, also some of the things that, had been mentioned at the Inbound conference as well with the various experts and SEO people too. These are some signals, algorithm signals is what we would call them, or best practices that work by platform. So on the Twitter side of things, we have an opportunity not only to optimize the page itself, but also the content. So if we want to increase reach on Twitter, here are some quick tips. Of course, we'll want to include relevant keywords in our bio. And then if it's relevant to the business, like if you were a local business, for example, you'd want to add your location to your bio as well. Use relevant hashtags, as I've, kind of briefly mentioned as well. And then what's really interesting about Twitter, it's separate from the other platforms, is that it actually populates what's called the trending topics. And so I have a picture about this in the next slide, but trending topics, if you've been on the platform, is your own curated lists, kind of, I guess, maybe similar to an Instagram Explore page, for example, but it populates different topics that it thinks you will be interested in based on your location and your activity. And it's also a good way to kind of pull and source content topics or ideas. And then running giveaways and polls or any sort of other interactive content is also a way to get people, interested in your content, engaging with it, sharing it, etc. And then lastly, interacting with your followers. So going back to what we know about search rankings and how we can, better perform within the Google rankings and kind of get above competitors and different things like that, we'll want to constantly increase engagement and activity on our social platforms. And so understanding that, we won't want to just share static things. I don't want to call it boring content, but you want to share, exciting content people are going to interact with and engage with, and, content that's going to get a conversation started. So with that said, I have some Twitter examples here. So on the left, you can see we have Toyota, of course. These guys, of course, have a massive following, but are doing several things great on Twitter. One of which is, the optimized profile. Of course, they have their location added, the category, the business category, their website is linked. And then they also have a branded hashtag, which I know a lot of you guys have as well. But the hashtag Let's Go Places is something that their community uses on a regular basis too. And that alone is a talking point or a conversation starter. So Twitter is cool because I don't know if you've practiced with it or used it at all, but their search engine is actually pretty robust. You can search virtually anything on Twitter by a keyword or a phrase or a hashtag, of course. And so just a quick hashtag search of the Let's Go places showed that, people are using this hashtag. It's not just Toyota dealerships or anything like that. And so this is a great example of, creating something that your community can use and talk about. And then we have a screenshot from the Steelers. You can see that they were doing a giveaway, and the simple call to action here is just to retweet for your chance to win. And obviously you can see the metrics below that this type of post will always perform great on Twitter, assuming you have, a good giveaway or a good product or service to actually give to people. But it encourages those shares and encourages the retweets, and that's what we want to increase reach and discoverability on Twitter. And then I just added a screenshot. This is what the trending page looks like. Of course, right now, obviously, it was just election day, so that is going, to kind of shift things. The trending topics tab can be a good source, of content ideas based on the season and kind of the time frame. I would tread lightly with trying to attach yourself or your brand to election day unless it's relevant. But in other cases, and some with different topics, there are some things that could spark inspiration, or you might be able to attach your brand to. And so that's just a way to generate different content on Twitter. So thinking about Instagram, similar to Twitter, we want to share interactive posts and content that will boost engagement. So this goes beyond just the static posts, even could go beyond videos. If we think about how can we have people interact with our Instagram content, well, on the stories, you can share polls that, would prompt them to select an answer or maybe fill in an answer. And that is then taking an action. We want that activity on our posts. And then carousels are interesting because you actually have to swipe through them, of course, and that also is taking an action on the post itself. So, thinking through different ways to get people actually interacting with the content and the type of content that could look like. And then again, keywords, that's going to kind of be a repeated theme throughout all of these tips and different algorithm signals across all platforms. Keywords should not only be included in your captions, but they should also be included in your name or in the keyword in your bio itself or your about section itself. And again, because Instagram is very search friendly, and I have an example of this on the next slide, which will kind of piece this together a bit better. But because it's search friendly, you can type in anything in the Instagram search bar and it'll populate accounts and posts and different content associated with that keyword. So if you have the keyword in your name, you have a greater chance of being populated among the first search results for that word. And then again, you'll want to add a location to your bio as long as it's relevant to your business. And goes without saying, use the right hashtags. You might have heard hashtags are dying or people don't need to use them. That's a lie. Make sure you act like you never heard that. Hashtags absolutely are still important. I will always use them. I could have a whole separate conversation about hashtags alone. But here's the Instagram example I was mentioning. So in this case, I searched the word irrigation, and this is an exact screenshot. None of this was manipulated. As soon as I typed in irrigation, you could see that the different irrigation words had populated. This is also a trick if you are looking for more creative ways to do keyword research. Instagram, all of these words that are populated after irrigation are the trending words associated or trending phrases associated with that original word. So if you needed some inspiration or were searching for different keywords to add, you could type in one of these, and this could then be a hashtag. It could be added into the caption. Not necessarily sure what irrigation is, but you get the idea. So this is, again, Instagram search page. Sorry about that. But then you can also see to the right of that, this is what populated for me. So once I scroll down and I got past all of the other keywords and phrases, then I'm served content that is related to irrigation. And then upon, kind of digging deeper and looking at exactly what those posts were, you can see that they were categorized with irrigation because it has not only the word irrigation in the video itself, but also in the hashtags. So this is just, further examples of the importance of keywords and adding them on Instagram, whatever way makes sense, whether it's in the caption, in the video, on the image, or in the hashtag. Even if it was commented, sometimes the hashtags are hidden within the first comment, sorry. And that's also a tactic. And then you can see too, on the right here, each of the profiles that have irrigation in the name populate first when I clicked on the accounts tab. So this is also an example of, optimizing your profile name itself. If it's not in the actual handle, if you look at this next one, you could see down here, this is, these guys are produce farmers, but you can see that their name is Oak Grove Farms, Tennessee. But in this section of Instagram, it says produce farmers. So if I were to search produce farmers, they would kind of populate first because they have that keyword in their name. So keywords on Instagram are extremely important. Again, where you use them, how often you use them, you have kind of endless opportunities there. The one thing I will say though is similar to traditional SEO, when you go overboard with keywords and you kind of start to sound like a robot and get really spammy, that will have the opposite effect. Instagram will shadow ban or downrank you for going crazy with it. Every page in business is different. I would say, kind of test what you can get away with or test what performs good for you, whether that's one keyword or 3 or 5, and kind of see, performance and then go from there. So next on Instagram, similar opportunity, again, that I had mentioned for Twitter and Instagram as well. You can see that optimizing your page on LinkedIn will also help you rank higher in search results. You'll want to make sure essentially that on each social media platform, you have as many details populated as possible, not just your name and your website link and, a quick 1-sentence thing in your about section, but you want to really be intentional with every field that you have the opportunity to add information to, and really think through which keywords you want to use in each of those respective areas. Because again, like I mentioned, social pages can come up within Google search when people are searching for a brand or a business. And then to increase engagement and activity on your posts, LinkedIn has actually said, and there's some resources about this as well, that post comments are typically the way that content goes viral. So as much as you can, you'll want to encourage people to comment on your posts, whether that's asking your employees or your team to comment on the content, or encouraging people to drop a comment below, leave a comment below, whatever the call to action is. And then secondly, this was also kind of a learning at Inbound, because LinkedIn was one of the sponsors. And so they had several sessions, and I sat in some of them. They had said that, punchy text-based posts with no links perform really great, or long form content. So those are polar opposites. And it's kind of a little confusing how that was determined, but that's what they said. And even upon looking at some of our own pages that we manage and the Lasasso account as well, you can kind of see what performs well. But yeah, so, thinking what is a quick statement or interesting, relevant thing that you can post, or what long form content can you share? Is there a blog post that could be repurposed for a LinkedIn article? Is there a longer video that was originally on YouTube that could maybe get posted on LinkedIn? Thinking through different long form content there. You'll always want to encourage employee activity. LinkedIn, obviously, before it kind of became a more, traditional social media platform, it was always kind of this corporate entity, corporate platform. And so encouraging employee activity and any sort of corporate related content will always do well on LinkedIn because that was its original usage. And then, as I mentioned, just ensure that every part of the page is filled out with as much detail as possible. Of course, your about section not only should include keywords, but should obviously relay the value, mission, and goals. And then you'll want to include any relevant links. This could also shift based on, again, seasonality or the type of campaign you're running. So in certain cases or during certain timeframes, you might not want to just keep your regular homepage or landing page in the website area. You might want to link to a product page or something more specific for the time. Here's some examples. So you can see some SEO driven taglines here on the left. On the first case, we have Lindsay Irrigation. Just that whole entire sentence has keywords in it, as well as the LinkedIn Collective. It's quick, it's to the point, it has keywords, and that will populate within search as well. When you look at the second group of images, this is an example of long form content we had shared on the A3 LinkedIn pages. These are native blogs or LinkedIn articles that were shared. And this is that example of long form content that, of course, they have a blog, and, we do create content that from time to time would link to the blog. But we had repurposed some of the content to share on LinkedIn natively with its own imagery and everything. And you can see by the metrics as well that it did get some good engagement there. And a lot of those articles that we had written there, of course, were keyword friendly. And then you have our LinkedIn page on the right. This is completely optimized. And I actually was kind of looking through to maybe see what we could have updated or kind of taking an audit of it. And I was surprised to see that it's perfectly updated and populated. So all of the relevant information has already been included. But if you look in the overview and specialty section on this page, you can see that it's just packed with keywords, and that's exactly what we want. It's not overdone, but this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying that we'll want to provide as much detail, with a good use of keywords on each of these social media pages. In doing so, again, this just continues to help with discoverability. You can search anything in the LinkedIn search bar as well, and it will come up not only accounts, but posts as well, hashtags as well. And if you were to type in Lasasso into Google, you would see our LinkedIn page also comes up as well. So by doing all of the back end work and kind of, ensuring all of the appropriate content has been added to your pages, you're just increasing your chances of ranking higher in Google. Lastly, for Facebook, again, similar themes here. One thing I do want to point out, and this is kind of reiterating from the social first lunch and learn, is that Facebook, like the other platforms, prioritize native content, which is the same thing as social first content. So instead of constantly linking to other pages on your website or other pages on the internet, you'll want to drive discussions first. And again, this is important because we already saw that activity on these social platforms matters more than just constant linking to your website. And so we'll want to drive discussions before just pointing people off the platform. Similar with LinkedIn, Facebook prioritizes long form content, specifically long form video content. So I know, with the paid side of things, and even on Instagram, in other cases, using shorter videos or quick clips is beneficial, but Facebook has said that longer videos actually perform better. Just organic in-feed videos perform really great. I think I had even read videos that are above 5 minutes generally get better engagement. Facebook is also interesting because you can add your own username or URL, which I'll show in the next slide. And then again, to increase that discoverability, just make sure every part of Facebook is updated with keywords and all of the relevant information as well. Facebook keeps changing everything and it can be hard to keep up with. So I would just suggest maybe looking at your Facebook page every couple months or so and making sure that, if they did change something or reorganize something, that again, you are kind of jumping on that. You're making sure the relevant information has been populated and so on. And Facebook also has tabs that you can customize, which I will explain in the next slide. So this is an example of a custom call to action button. Everyone has this option as a Facebook business page. And you'll see in most cases, it just says learn more for a lot of businesses, but there's actually several call to actions you can pick from. So learn more might not be the most beneficial button to add to your Facebook page. In this case, they have sign up. When I clicked on it, it took me to sign up for their newsletter. So that's also a great tactic. You can see the custom page URL or username here as well, just the @Lasasso Inc. So it's easier when people or businesses tag us. Same with like @Caterpillar Inc. And I didn't mention this, but this is also an opportunity you have on LinkedIn as well. If you haven't already, not only for company pages, but for personal pages as well, you can create your own @ or your own username. So if you haven't done it already, I would encourage you. It's easy, it's free, and it makes it easier for people to find you. In this case, Salesforce has added everything they need to add in their about section. It's got keywords in there as well. And then you can see the relevant contact information there, also their custom username. And then here's what I was talking about with the custom page tabs. So you can see that these tabs right here don't look the same for both of them. HubSpot has groups, and this is a great tactic if you actually host groups or groups created for your business. So people can easily navigate their respective HubSpot group because of the organization of their tabs. And then here, they're promoting their, job opportunities. So Work for Us is also a tab. And again, this is a free thing, every business page has access to. It's just a matter of going through and looking and seeing what is available for your Facebook page and kind of differentiating it and, adding whatever makes sense for your business and your industry. All right. So I know that was a lot, but a lot of those things, like I mentioned, were similar best practices for SEO. It's just kind of thinking through on the social media side of things, how we can, increase our search rankings, increase discoverability from a social perspective. And in doing so, will inevitably help you rank higher in search engines as well. And so just thinking through to social media as the new landing page or as the new Google, the new SEO, constantly having this idea when we're creating content, when we're updating our pages, I think that it would benefit most company pages to kind of do an audit, like I mentioned, every few months, figure out what needs updating. Do you need to shift some keywords out? Is there a new function on Facebook that you can add? Even thinking through when it comes to content creation, what can be long form content? What videos do you have that could be shared on social? How can you, engage with people? How can you create more interactive content? And just thinking through things that way. So that wraps everything up. Similar to last time, we will share and circulate this around, but I did include some resources. There is a ton out there on social media and the connection to SEO, how to continuously optimize your page and your content, and even some tips for how you can optimize your website for social media as well. So with that said, I will stop my screen. Did anyone have any questions or anything you're hoping to walk through at all that I haven't mentioned?
I have just a question that maybe you could comment on. I know that with all of these platforms and the changes that happen so frequently, and with new platforms coming on, it can be overwhelming for people and for companies to figure out, the right platforms to be on, what to how to choose your spots. Do you have any comment on just like your process for helping, individuals and clients kind of look at how they approach this and what they prioritize?
Yeah, I think I would assess first, I guess, what content you already have and what exists. And then once you kind of have an idea of what you can actually share, I would make a decision on, based on the resources you have, which platforms can you be on? In some cases, there is a shortage of content or a shortage of resources. So it doesn't make practical sense to be on every social platform all at once. In other cases, you might have to start on one platform over the other. And when determining which of the platforms to be on, if that was the case, I would take a look at which platforms competitors are on, and not only which platforms competitors are on, but which of the competitor platforms are they getting the most engagement on? Because then you kind of have an idea of the audience there. And so if maybe a competitor has a great Facebook engagement, that might be a prime opportunity because that audience is already there and already interested. If there was an influx of content and best case scenario, a team ready to execute everything, I think it would benefit to be on most of the trending platforms. I really wouldn't say it. So any social platform would hinder, any business. I think it just kind of comes down to what you can actually share and how much content you have and the time you can devote to it. I would say it's wise to start small if you have, a shortage of resources. But if you have everything you need, I would kind of grow each of the channels equally and see what performs better and then kind of prioritize from there.
Great. Thank you.
Makes sense. Any other questions?
I would just say, Jess, thanks for a great presentation. I mean, you always do a really great job taking a lot of information, distilling it down into actionable insights and giving good examples. So thank you very much. Really great.
Yeah, of course.
All right. I have one more question.
Okay.
My LinkedIn feed is filled with cross-platform posts from like TikTok and other places. What do you have a point of view on I mean, I know people the platforms prefer content that links to their platform, but what about sharing cross-platform posts? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. So, and this was actually mentioned at one of the inbound sessions as well, that ironically screenshots of tweets from the Twitter app shared on any other social platform is like a strange tactic that's been working for everyone, gets lots of engagement. In the case of videos, I think it can be really hit or miss. I personally, personal opinion, don't think that like TikToks or Reels should be shared on like a LinkedIn or something, but then I will be scrolling just like you and I will see TikToks or Reels shared from LinkedIn and they have great engagement. In other cases, they have bad engagement. And so I think, it really just depends on the content of the video or the post that you're sharing from the other platform and whether or not your audience is interested in said topic. If so, I think it's worth trying out. And if it doesn't work, maybe that's just a practice that you drop from the strategy. If it does work, maybe that's something that, could then be incorporated, every time there is a relevant piece of content to share from another platform.
Awesome. Thanks. Great job.
Yep. All right. Well, I will make sure that we get this circulated to everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or any one of us, and we'd be happy to chat more. But otherwise, thanks for attending and hope you guys all have a great rest of your week.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Jessica.
Thanks, Jessica.